So we continue our series on sharing the word, and this morning we want to talk about sharing with outcasts. Now you think, we don't have any outcasts. Well, first off, I always loved Mr. Google, and so I went to there, what's the definition of an outcast? As you can see up behind me, the first definition of an outcast is rejected or cast out by society. And number two is thrown aside and discarded. You know, until I traveled to third world countries, I thought I never saw that. When I got the privilege to go to India, we're in a very nice hotel, and we have two of our fellow members who were from India. They both had double doctorates, medical and also theological. Amy, could you do me a favor and turn me down just a hair? Because I don't know about you all, but it sounds like I'm talking in a barrel. Anyway, so they had two highly educated guys, and we sat down. We're hungry. We've been out all day long. We wanted to have dinner. It was late, and nobody was serving on us. Nobody was waiting on us. Finally, one of the guys looks at us and said, they're not going to wait on us. We are of a different caste than what they are, and we are considered the lower caste. We went, what? That's just not in our world. I mean, that was crazy. So one of us had to get up and go over there and say, okay, guys, you're going to come over and wait on us. And then they wouldn't take those guys' orders, so we had to order for them. It's crazy over there. They still have a caste system. How they know that these guys, because they were dressed in suits, were of a different caste than what they were, I have no idea. Not a clue. Kind of the same way with our gospel lesson this morning from John 4:9 with the Samaritan woman at the well. I use this verse for our message. The Samaritan woman said to him, how is it that you, a Jew, ask for a drink from me, a woman of Samaria? We've all heard the story. How many times, multiple times, have we heard that, right? So here we have. Back in those days, Jesus was really shaking it up because, one, if she'd been a Jewish woman, you didn't talk to another Jewish woman without an escort. She needed to have an escort. How Jesus knew she was a Samaritan? Yes, I know how Jesus knew she was a Samaritan, okay? But how would you and I know she was? And I tried to look it up, did they dress different, talk different, sounded different? What was it? I couldn't find anything other than a Jew did not mix with a Samaritan. Kind of like today, and every now and then I still get it. A grandma or grandpa will come in and go, oh, my granddaughter is dating a Catholic. And I just look at him and say, well, if they're going to church, be happy. That's kind of what was back in those. Those two never mixed. So, one, Jesus is talking to a woman, which is very unusual. Two, he's talking to somebody different, of a different faith, different background, that whole thing. Very unusual. But watch and look how he did it. He didn't just walk up there and say, okay, lady, you're living in sin. And you're going to hell for that. No, that's not what he did. He asked questions. They had a dialogue. They got to know each other. Although Jesus already Jesus knew her, but it's a perfect example of how we should be doing things. Ask questions. Don't assume. Don't automatically lay into them that they're doing something wrong. Because maybe in their world it's not wrong. Be patient, be loving, be understanding. But it was interesting that Jesus chose to speak to somebody who in his world was a definite outcast. But, well, you live in America. We don't have caste system here. We don't treat people like outcasts. Wait for it. I mean, I was shocked over in India. Guatemala the same way. There's a caste system there. We would never be that way here. Third world countries, you see it all the time. Oh, but we would never look down on somebody here or throw them aside thinking they're not worth anything, especially our time. No. Oh, but wait for it. All right, the elderly gentleman there. I've been told I have good Spanglish. I don't know Spanish that well, but I can get said what I need to have said. But how many times? And the Latino community is in our backyard. I don't know if y'all know that or not, but we have a wide, very large community of Latinos. Go to the Delso neighborhood. It's wonderful. Best corn on the cob in the world, and I've heard she's open. Yes. That's a whole other thing, okay? But you're thinking, well, yeah, okay. I would ask you, how many times have you drove away from a drive-up window, and I don't care which fast food it is, and you come away so frustrated because you had to repeat your order 4 times to that kid on the other end that could not understand English because they were Spanish. Oh, but you didn't look down on them. No. We don't have a caste system in this world, in our America. How about the beggar? Go downtown. How many times have, you know how it goes. You see him down the block and you kind of go really quick past him, right? Because we don't want to have to deal with them. We don't have to want to look at them. They're not worth it. They're of a different thing than we are. Are they? And I'm not saying, I would tell you to be very careful when you give handouts to these, if they're begging and stuff, because over in Egan, we have professional beggars. Literally, professional beggars. And the sad thing is they're hurting those that really could use it. Use your heart. You'll know. God will tell you, hey, that person does need help. Don't stub your nose. You know the greatest thing I've ever learned about those guys begging? It's the nicest thing you can do to them is as you are driving by them or as they walk by you, smile at them, acknowledge them. You don't have to roll down your window and give them something, but acknowledge them at least, hey, you're a human being, and smile at them. No. We're not a society of cast away or look down on other people. How about looking at color? I'd like to think we're very open and very loving and allowing, having a mixture. I like to think I don't see color, all right? But this last couple of years really opened up my eyes to something I never realized, and I really could have made a living in college much easier than what I was working. Concordia St. Paul University. If you're old enough to remember, right across the street used to be the old Montgomery Wards. Yep. I could have gone in there on any given day and stolen anything I wanted. And you know how I could get by with it? I played football. 1/3 of the football players looked like me. 2/3 of the football players looked like the guy up behind me. If I would have gone to Montgomery Ward's with my whole football team, I could have walked out the door with everything and anything because they weren't watching me. They were watching them. And why? They were the nicest, most Christian guys you ever want to be around. Don't necessarily want to play football against them because they were like hitting a wall. Boom. But they had a different color. But we don't do that in America. Oh, and how about the young people now? I'm not going to say anything bad about tattoos because I don't know if you know this or not. I have tattoos, okay? Piercings? Oh, that's another thing. You know, you say, but, oh, I love them. Really? How many times have you been to Target and you're walking, you're ready to check out and you're walking along and you're seeing which checkout has the least amount of people, and then you see that one young gal and she's got so many piercings in her face. You're thinking, man, if you fall in the water, you're going to go face first and not come back up because you're just right to the bottom. And instead of going to her, you go to the one that looks like you. But we don't have a caste system here in America. Have you ever thought of talking to them? We'll get into that in a minute. But we see people differently. And just because they look different, talk different, dress different, do we treat them different? Oh, not us. Never. You know, it's if they're very conservative Islamic women, they will not talk to a guy. But ladies, have you ever thought, if you're checking out with somebody in a hijab and all that stuff, have you ever asked them? You know, I like asking them when you see their name tags and they got these really crazy names. See, I mean, they don't have the Anglo-White Saxon Protestant names on them, you know? I say, how do you pronounce that? Well, what's it mean? What, you know, get to know them. And you'd be surprised what they'll share with you. Ask them, you know, just, you know, I don't understand. What is it? Why do you wear what you wear? I bet you they'd be happy to tell you. Treat them nicely. Ask questions. Now, this is the last one, and I love this because I hear every year, oh, Pastor, you're going to Sturgis? Do you know what they do there? They don't do it as much as they used to because we're all getting old, okay? Actually, it's become a very family-friendly place. And most people, I'll bet you, if you saw some motorcyclist like this in black leather and what I call the ZZ Top beard, you're going to go, ooh, stay away from him. Don't want to deal with him. I'll tell you this, when we were on the two-wheeler, even now on the three-wheeler, if we would get hit going out to Sturgis, the young bucks on the crotch rackets are going to go right past us. Guess who's going to stop? First off, to make sure you're okay or get you help, and then actually stand off to the side and say prayers for you. Guys that look like that. I would rather deal with 100 of those than one of the, you know, the preppy-looking guy on his little motorcycle. It's because we've got these ideas in our brain that we you know, ooh, they're strange, they're different. We don't want to have to share with them and show them God's love. So, how do we share with them? I'm going to give you a few pointers, but here's the biggest thing. You know, last week I think I had 5 points on how to share with them. This week, what I'm going to tell you the most part with outcasts, and by outcasts I mean people who look different than we do, people who talk different than we do, people that maybe have different ideas than we do, come from a different country, whatever it may be, okay? You all remember what our theme is for this year? And not the share, that's our mission statement. Theme for the year. Love your neighbor as yourself. That's what you got to remember. Jesus didn't just walk up to the Samaritan woman and, lambast her. He treated her like he would want to be treated. And I want to tell you to do the same. Because when you start to do that, when you start to see humans for their value and their worth, you'd be surprised what you're going to learn, what you're going to see, and the opportunities you're going to have to share with them the love of Jesus Christ in word and deed. So here you go. Get to know them. Relations, relations, relations. It could be a 5-minute get to know them. It could be they live next to me for the last 10 years. You better should know them. I get a kick out of the little cul-de-sac I live on in Egan. I bet you we have 6 different nationalities. And of those 6, there's probably 5, 6, 7 different languages being spoken. Probably more than that, because most of those are bilingual. Get to know them. Don't, go to the other side of the street when you see them coming down. Get to know them. Say hi, how you doing? Ask them questions. Find out. I love asking about their food. We had one family, they've moved now, but once they found out I was interested in they were Asian families, so every now and then I would get a knock on the door and going, hey, you want to try this? And it's like, yes, I do. It's awesome. Ask questions. Don't be afraid of them. And then remember to love them as yourself. I'm not saying you got to save the world. And if you see the quote I have up there, no, it's not a quote from the Bible, but I think it really makes it a quote for today. I will not change the world. Jesus will do that. I can, however, let him use me to change the world for one person. One person. One person that you used, maybe yesterday saw as an outcast, see him today as a human being, as God's creation. I said this morning, this next slide is, I should have just showed this right away and then said amen, because it says it all. When you see that person out on the street, see yourself and how you want to be treated. Think about it. Wasn't it a joy hearing those little guys sing this morning? It was. Awesome. I'll bet you know somebody you should come and invite to come and hear those. How about our young kids singing? You got a neighborhood kid or even a nephew, niece, or somebody that goes, I'm too cool for church. Hey, come and show them these cool kids, all right? Invite them here. There's so many different ways we can share, and there's so many different ways we can do it. But do it like Jesus. And remember this, love them as you want somebody else to love you. Amen? Amen. Amen.